Hey guys, it's Jeff. Today I'm going to be reviewing a book called Tau Zero by Poul Anderson. It's a science fiction novel written in 1967. And I don't have enough good things to say about this book. I loved it. It's absolutely amazing. It's pretty short. It's only about 180 something. No, it's about 190 pages. So it goes by pretty quickly. But I think it was the perfect length. I didn't feel like it needed to be longer or it was too short or anything like that. So I absolutely loved it. But what it's about is, in the near future, Earth has decided that it wants to colonize other planets in the galaxy. They do their tests and probes on Earth. They have observed planets from a distance, and once they see a planet that seems promising, they send a ship of people over there to see if they can actually colonize it. If the planet is promising, then that crew stays on that planet and tries to rebuild another Earth-like colony or try to create more humans. But if it's not promising, then they turn back around, come back to Earth, and then they try that again with the next ship. So it follows the journey of the ship called the Leonora Christine. They've located a planet 32 light years away, and it documents their journey to that planet to see if they can colonize that planet. 50 crew members, 25 women, 25 men. And the problem is, though, that since it's 32 light years away, they have to reach near light speed in order to get there before, so it doesn't take thousands and thousands of years to get to that planet. But the problem with that is the closer that you travel to light speed, the slower time goes for you on the ship, but the faster that time goes outside of the ship. So if they were going light speed, then it would only take them, possibly a couple months to get there because of how slow time goes for you. But for everybody on Earth, it would take them 32 years to get there because they're watching them travel at light speed. And if the planet is 32 light years away, it would take them 32 years to the observers on Earth. So even though it would only take the crew members a couple months, it would take, 32 years would have passed on Earth for their journey there, and then another 32 years back. So they already know that if at the end of this journey, they're probably not going to be seeing their friends and family again. So they say all their goodbyes. They get on the ship and they start flying away. Throughout the entire journey getting there, they have to keep accelerating little by little to try to get as close to light speed as they can. Halfway through their journey, they're going to decelerate and kind of slow down, like by going in the opposite direction and kind of boosting backwards to try to slow down. No, not backwards. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. But they're trying to decelerate. Like halfway through their journey, they decelerate so that they can land on the planet. Okay. But the problem is, sometime into their journey, their deceleration system gets damaged. So they can't actually slow down. They have tools that help them get rid of debris around them, almost like a shield that, like in front of the ship, can extend out a certain distance, like destroy all the material in front of them, and then kind of push it aside. And then on the sides also, they've got things that try to get rid of material around them. So the ship is kind of surrounded by this like shield, destructive, force field that if they're driving, and like a meteor comes by so that they don't get damaged by the meteor. But the problem is they weren't necessarily going fast enough. And since they're going so fast, they keep on accelerating towards light speed. Things outside don't really pass in front of their view within real time. So when they're barreling straight ahead and they see this nebula that's coming in front of them, but they couldn't have predicted how quickly it was going to come because of how quickly time passes for other objects outside of the ship. So they see that they're about to hit this nebula, and there's too much material in that nebula for them to actually destroy all of it as they're going through, and they're going too fast that they can't turn out of the way in time. So they have no choice but to brace for impact. They hit the nebula, and although everybody survives and most of the ship's functions are okay, they're relatively okay, but they notice that their deceleration system gets damaged and they can't slow down. So they have no choice but to keep going straight and in the direction of that planet. But since they can't slow down, they have to keep speeding up so that their ship doesn't get damaged again by a nebula like that. And if they keep speeding up, then they attain more mass, and those bigger objects won't actually affect them as much. And it's such a cool idea for a ship, or for a book, because the idea of being in space and not being able to slow down and forever having to speed up is a really cool idea. But the problem is that as time passes, they end up, years passed by for them on the ship, but millions and billions of years pass by outside of the ship. So by the time the book is over, they travel something about like 50 billion light years, across galaxies, across the universe. And so much time has passed outside of the ship that some of the crew members are like, you know what? Something's looking a little weird out here. They notice that stars are getting dimmer. Things are kind of moving together, and they're noticing that the universe is dying. So they've spent only a few years for themselves on the ship, but so much external time on Earth and outside of the ship has passed that the universe is actually collapsing in on itself. And they're not sure what to do because how can we possibly survive this? So they have to devise a plan on, what kind of universe it is. Is it going to collapse into a single point, into a singularity? Or is it going to be a universe that keeps expanding forever, deflating and then expanding forever? And they come to realize that it actually is an oscillating universe, so that rather than the universe coming to a single point where everything would get crushed down, it kind of stays at a, like a fixed, when it comes together, it comes into like a fixed bubble. In the middle is almost like a singularity. They call it the monoblock, which is just kind of like a lightning ball of, material. And then around it is a bunch of like matter, antimatter, everything else in the universe that you see kind of just circling around. And by the end of the book, they get so close to light speed that they're basically going light speed, even though it's fractionally away from it. They keep circling around that, like a donut shape. If you can imagine a donut, the middle circle would be the monoblock, and then the outside, the actual donut part, is what they keep circling around, waiting for like a new universe to be born, basically. So a new universe is born, and they're basically circling the entire time, kind of waiting for something to happen. They see matter and antimatter kind of split up into different directions, and it's a really cool idea to see like a new universe, being able to survive a new universe. But they're kind of worried, is this new universe going to have the same physics as us? Are we actually going to be able to find a planet? Because now that we're circling so fast, we still have to fix our ship. Okay, like we survived the universe dying, but now we have to fix our ship. And eventually they do, because they reach a region of space that's empty enough where they won't be troubled by external, masses interfering with their ship, possibly colliding with their ship. Although they're going fast enough to where it doesn't really matter to them anymore, which is a little issue-y, because once they go fast enough, they're basically just ripping through things. Like they can rip through a star and it not even slow them down. Not even, not slow them down, but not even like damage their ship at all. So that's pretty interesting. There are a few times around throughout the book where they're like, towards the end when they're going fast enough, it was kind of humorous because they'll feel like that type of feeling, kind of like if you drive off the road and you hit those like speed bump things. They're like, oh, we just passed another galaxy. Like just like that, within seconds, they pass through a galaxy. And I just found it funny because normally, like the Milky Way galaxy is 100,000 light years. So it would take quite a long time to pass through it, but they're passing through it within moments. I wanted to read the back of this book because it kind of gives a little bit of false information. The synopsis, it says, during her epic voyage to a planet 30 light years away, the deceleration system of the Leonora Christine is irreparably damaged. Unable to slow down, she attains light speed, tau zero itself, and disparity between time for those on board and external time becomes impossibly great. Eons and galaxies hurtle by in the blink of an eye as the crew speeds helpless and alone into the unknown. So it's a little bit deceiving because they don't actually reach tau zero, but they basically reach it. Tau zero, like this equation on the front here, v being velocity and then c being the speed of light. So if this equals 1, then this whole equation equals 0. So tau 0 means that you've actually attained light speed. They don't attain that, but they reach like 0.00001 or something like that. So they're basically there, but they're not there. So it's not that big of a deal, but they don't actually reach light speed. They get close to it. So the story itself was awesome and intriguing to me. Since there's a big crew, there's 50 people on board. And the book is only 190 pages. There's really not enough time to give every single character their own personality and for each character to shine. So it really only follows like the captain and his 4 or 5 main like subordinates, like right underneath him. Every once in a while, you'll get someone else from the crew kind of speak up when they're having their meetings in the gymnasium or the auditorium, and they'll kind of speak up. Hey, what about this? So you'll hear like names. You'll hear names kind of sprinkled in there here and there, but it mainly follows the captain and his 4 or 5 people that are underneath him, which is fine. I didn't even have a problem with that because those 4 or 5, they have their conflicts. Because once they find out that they can't slow down, then it's actually not the captain that leads them. It's actually not the captain that saves them. It's, I'm blanking on his name. Sorry, guys. Sorry, give me a second here. So hopefully I can find it. Charles Raymond. He's kind of like the main guy that it focuses on. And then his mate, because of like pairs, they try to choose pairs so that when they get to the planet, when they need to procreate, there's kind of a male and a female pair, and her name is Lindgren. I can't remember her first name at the moment, but I won't bore you with that. But Lindgren and Raymond are basically like the main 2 people that it follows. And they have enough of a personality where he's kind of like a hard ass, doesn't show a lot of emotion, but has his moments. And people kind of sometimes resent him for that because you're not being personal to us and you're just trying to get us to move on. But he's really the one that saves the ship, because once they find out that they can't slow down, if he wasn't there, morale was basically zero until he said, well, fill your time with the things that you would have normally done on the ship. All of your biology things, study the stars, study what's happening to the universe because it's closing in on us. Do all the things that you would normally do because that's what we've got. And he kind of smacks them with some reality like, well, you know what? Earth is dead. Earth died billions of years ago, not to us, but for them. So Earth is gone. We need to save our species, and we're the ones to do it. So, don't feel sorry for yourself just yet, which is pretty cool. So he saves the ship because even the captain came to him. He's like, man, I don't even know how to save these people. I don't know how to keep morale high so that they want to survive. And he's like, I'll retain title of captain, but I really want you to make all the decisions, and you make the decision and I'll be the one to like speak it out. So they kind of have this arrangement, and they have all their conflicts because, if you're on a ship for years and years, relationships can get messy. People not cheat on each other, but like they kind of, hook up with other people, and then there's jealousies that arise and, things like that. So, I wasn't really that upset that they couldn't give every single character their own personality and enough time. There just wasn't enough space in the book. And I really didn't even want more space in the book to develop those characters because I felt like it would have been too long. It was, it's 190 pages and the text isn't that big. So it flowed really well. I think I only read it in maybe 5 reading days. And I just really enjoyed it. I actually found out about this book reading Parallel Worlds by Michio Kaku, which I'm going to be doing a review for pretty soon as well. And, I was flipping through and he was talking about, I think it was probably light speed, or, this book is about, can we survive? Are there other universes, like a multiverse? And, can we survive the death of our own universe? And then he started talking about Tau Zero. And he gave the synopsis of that book. And I was like, oh. So as soon as I read what the book was about, immediately went out to Barnes & Noble, ordered it. And it was shipped to the store within a few days. So overall, I don't really have anything bad to say about it. There were a few weird things like, it's basically a ship that you have to survive your entire life on. So weird things like like a gymnasium, or they have like gift shops on the ship, which I thought was a little strange. Like mostly everybody on the ship is like a scientist or something. So it's kind of weird to be like, who's running the gift shop? And like, why would you want a gift shop on a spaceship? Why would you have to like pay money on a spaceship? I don't know. It just seems like, well, couldn't we just have those supplies and just use them for ourselves? Like, why would I want to buy a shirt for $50 when, like, who's getting that $50 on a new planet? Like, what kind of currency is that? It was just weird things like that where they had like gyms, they had auditoriums, they had gift shops. They had like swimming pools, but at one point they had like 0G. Like they were experiencing 0G, so they had to strap themselves in and they were floating around. So when the swimming pool float away, or and it didn't, just little things like that don't really take away from the book at all, but just kind of observances that I had. So overall, I have to give this book 5 out of 5. There's nothing about it that made me hate it. I looked forward to reading it. Whenever I put it down, I couldn't wait to pick it back up again. The story itself was intriguing. And I might be a little biased because I love learning about space and those types of things anyway. But I don't really read a lot of science fiction. To be honest, I don't even know if I've ever read a science fiction book before. I kind of just, whenever a book sounds cool, I'll pick it up. But I don't think I've read science fiction before. But now that I've read this one, I want to read more, maybe by the same author or other recommendations by people who have read him. More space novels is always cool in my book. So yeah, I'd have to give it a 5 out of 5. Great story. It wasn't too long. Characters couldn't be really developed, but didn't bother me because it followed, 4 or 5 main ones that gave you just enough of their personality to where you knew you could tell the difference between them. And yeah, I look forward to reading more science fiction. So let me know if you read this book, if the review made you want to read it. Until next time, I'm Jeff. This is Jeffrey Scott Reads a Lot, and thanks for watching. Subscribe, like the video, dislike it if you want, and I'll see you on the next one.